Bint and Darren Kunka. The second streets heat produced a photo finish between the two number 3 cars. Scott Holden's father Ray in the blue on the outside just nipped John Friesen at the line. Chris Frey was third, Rick Fawcett fourth, and Emil Granger fifth. Joe Tate's used a familiar formula to take the third streets heats. A little trouble in the corners. He was overpowering in the straightaways. Tate's took, lost, and regained the lead en route to the checkered flag. Jamie Gooley, Jack Campbell, Brian Atkinson, and Rod Bedford made up the top 5. Then for an encore, Tate's went wire to wire to win the Mattel 300 feature, and for having his number 88 on the bottom of her door prize, Marnie Morell won a complete Hot Wheels set courtesy of the MTN Kids Club.
Yeah, we went down to Langdon on the weekend and we did a couple more adjustments to the car, and the track was just beautiful tonight, and she was hooked up really good, really good.
Tell us, what's it like driving in those features where there's over 20 cars there? Is that the...
You know, some nights I sit back and I keep on thinking about it, and I think I just get myself more and more pumped up. But going through the lap track, I love that. You know, that's something that it's a feeling that when you're going by somebody, you're wondering what he's going to do, and when you go by him, and you know you didn't touch him or anything or didn't hurt the car, it's even better.
Was that a little extra fun tonight to be part of the whole MTN Kids Club thing?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how many kids came out. It's nice to see all those kids out. Larry did a good thing there in MTN, and maybe should have that more often.
Checking the leaderboard, Tate's was followed across the line by Brian Atkinson, Greg Dwornik, Scott Holden, and Jack Campbell. Wayne Fiddler continued his aggressive driving in the super stock heat, maybe too aggressive. His battle with Derek Pember and Keith McDermott allowed Ed Friesen to hold on for the win. After Pember and Fiddler came Kevin Sexton and McDermott. There was another wire-to-wire performance in the feature as Kevin Sexton ran away and hid from the field.
Tell us about your hand injury. You heard it last week. How was that driving with that?
Well, most of the time I was driving with one hand, but I'll get through it. I guess Wayne was driving a little better this week, or at least he never hit me.
You were a little peeved last week, I think.
Yeah, it was. It broke in 4 places, and they put a pin through the end of it, so it hurts quite a bit, but I'll live.
Fiddler, Friesen, Pember, and McDermott completed the top 5. Kurt Gretzinger sat on the pole for most of the first modified heat, but a couple of false starts earned him the black flag. Then last week's feature winner, Les Prichard, overtook Mike Serco at the white flag and went on to win. Rounding out the top 5 were Dave Buffy, Mike McCoggan, and Ernie Gruen. After winning the second mods heat wire-to-wire, Killarney's Fred Rubery looked like he might do the same in the feature, especially when this pass by Stony Kruk was negated by a yellow flag. But on a restart, the Langdon, North Dakota driver in the yellow 69 did manage to overtake Rubery and went on to capture the checkered flag.
I tried him inside and I tried him outside, and he was just a little faster down the straightaway, so I went into the last corner there and I figured I'm either going to pass him or I'm going to be sitting on the outside of the track, and the car stuck. He ran a good race, a good clean one, and it's kind of fun run side by side that many laps.
Gary Roy got 3rd, Gord Hokovich 4th, and Ernie Gruen 5th. With Troy Olson running away with the sprints heat, the best battle was for 3rd between Mike Balkin Jr. in his new car and Lou Kennedy Jr. Balkin did manage to hold on to his position, but couldn't catch John Stengrim for 2nd. As we checked the leaderboard, Tim Mulvaney rounded out the top 5. The most intriguing duel of the night was between a pair of North Dakota drivers in the feature. Troy Olson appeared poised to make the pass on Tim Mulvaney as they approached lap traffic, but a bump left the national points leader sliding towards the infield concrete and waving his fist at Mulvaney. Now over the final few laps, Mulvaney held off Lou Kennedy Jr. to break into the winner's circle at Victory Lane.
Troy's a hard guy to start with. He starts up high and real fast. It's hard to keep up with him on the starts. Then we came across some lap traffic later on, and somehow he touched the back of my car. I didn't really see what happened.
He wasn't too happy, though, was he? Judging by his hand waving.
Him or his dad weren't too happy. You know, no one ever is under those instances, but I sure hope that it wasn't something I could have avoided.
Behind Olson and Kennedy were Balkin, Stengrim, and the rookie, Jason Linnell. Portage La Prairie points leader Wayne Fiddler in the red 55 quickly moved up from 5th place to 2nd in the first super stock heat. But Pat, it seems the top drivers are getting a little better at holding him off.
That's right, Keith. As we get deeper and deeper into the season, these fellows gain more experience, and it's going to be getting tougher and tougher for Wayne Fiddler every week. And now look at Ed Friesen getting tangled up in traffic there and hangs on to get the checkered flag.
After Friesen and Fiddler came Stu Fraser, Keith McDermott, and Bill Logner. There was a nice piece of driving by number 57, Kevin Sexton, in the second heat, beginning with a great jump at the green flag.
Well, that's for sure. Now, Kevin Sexton looking for the opening, and the fellas ahead of him give it to him, and he jumps from 4th to 2nd in one easy maneuver. Now, as they get going here later on, Blaine is the leader. Blaine gets up a little bit high in turn 2, and Sexton takes advantage of that and dives underneath him for the number 1 spot.
And as Sexton cruised to victory, Derek Pember overtook Rick Blaine of Brandon for 2nd. Jim Warren was the only other car to finish that heat. It was a similar story in the Superstock feature, with Fiddler being held off behind lap traffic and Sexton motoring to his 2nd consecutive feature win.
I was pretty comfortable. Didn't think that no one could pass me.
It seems once you get out there, just like last week, there isn't even Fiddler can't get you when you're on the roll.
Yeah, I got to thank Corners Quickly for that. And my pit crew's pretty good. Jamie Gillespie and Tim Sexton, Brian Lowe. They helped me get the car back together a couple weeks ago.
Rounding out the top 5 after Sexton and Fiddler were Fraser, Pember, and Blaine. It looked like number 4, Gary Philby, was going to pick up an easy win in the first modified heat, but all of a sudden he suffered some mechanical problems down the stretch and had to pull into the pits. Understandably, he wasn't too happy about that, but Pat, it set up a great last lap duel between Ernie Gruen in the Red 96 and the T88 of Todd Sanis.
Well, at this point, Keith, Todd Sanis knows it's now or never time. If he's going to take the victory, he's going to have to do it right here. Now, he gambles and gets up into the side of Ernie Gruen, and, of course, just about messed it up for the two of them. Ernie hung on for the checkered, of course, but I believe Todd dropped back to about 4th spot.
4th was where Sanis ended up. In between was Mike McCoggan of St. Francis and Dave Buffy. Ralph Donald was 5th. In the second mods heat, we had another car paying a visit to the pits and your living room. Now, Pat, I'm no mechanic, but as we take a look under the hood of the number 22 car of Killarney's Fred Rubery, I'd say that's an oil leak.
What was your first clue, Sherlock? That's a gusher is what that is. That looks to me like it's coming right out of the drain plug in the oil pan. Now, it's coming too straight to have put a rod through the side of the block or something like that. I think that oil plug fell out, and he's draining it all right down on the racetrack right there.
Up front, Kurt Gretzinger went wire-to-wire for the win. He was followed across the line by Gord Hakovich, Selkirk's Gary Roy, Roland's Les Prichard, and Jay Nassadi. You talk about real racing. Buffy, Prichard, and Hakovich pulled away from the pack in the feature and hooked up in a superb 3-way battle.
Keith, I'll tell you, with Wazota sanctioned racing, you have this sort of thing going on all the time with the engine rules and whatnot, keeping the competition very, very close. And this is just another example of how good dirt track racing can be.
Following a restart, Prichard overtook Buffy and won a feature shortened by a last lap crunch of the week. You'll want to stick around for that, but first let's hear from the mayor of Roland.
Yeah, Dave really got the jump on me right off the start. He had just a little more pull, and I knew I had to warm up the right rear tire, and it come to me little on later in the race. But he run a really good groove.
How did you tell us about your pass? How did you get by, Dave?
I knew I had to work him a bit and get that right rear and get on high, and he just went in a little low, and I was ready for it, and I got up high and got around him real nice.
Checking the leaderboard, Prichard, Buffy, and Hakovich finished 1, 2, 3, followed by McCoggan and Gruen. Here's something you don't see very often. Lou Kennedy Jr. in the blue 21K goes over the top, but Pat, what a recovery he made.
What a recovery is right. He does get right back on the throttle, comes from last right back up to 2nd, and eventually gives Darren Palin all he can handle, but Darren hangs on for the checkered.
And that was his first of the season. For the record, Mike Vulcan Jr. was 3rd, 17-year-old Donnie Schatz from Minot, North Dakota was 4th, Bob Edmonds placed 5th. Not much suspense in the sprints feature. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion when Kennedy sits on the pole. Chalk up another wire-to-wire win and a big payday for the traveling man.
The way the track conditions were tonight, you know, it was nice and smooth, and you could keep a nice even line all the way around the track. And when you start out in the pole, it makes it so much easier. You don't have any cars to pass for position, so you know it makes it quite a bit easier than if you have to pass somebody and work at them.
$2,000 payday is not too bad.
No, we'll take that. We're kind of happy that they made it $2 grand tonight, and we'll keep it at home.
In Kennedy's wake were Balkan, Fargo's Troy Olson, Palin, and Edmonds.